Hi everyone, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do is to continue on the last video which covered the first day of the WatchTime show 2018 in New York City. Today was the main day, Saturday, and so there's a lot to cover, so let's get started. Wristwatch check. I have on my Vacheron Constantin Historique Americaine 1921. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing, and this was to me the best part of the whole show, which was actually not part of the official show. There were a number of us who went to the show who were going to meet before the show on Saturday morning. And we were going to meet at a Starbucks that was right around the corner from Gotham Hall where they had the show. And we got there, and I don't think there's, at least that I took, there are no pictures of people at it. We were all taking pictures of each other's watches and looking at the watches. Here are a couple right here. There's a F.P. Journe Souverain Boutique, which Art Lederger had, Chopek that Kaz had, a Rolex Explorer Mark I that Bruce wore. There's another one down below. It's Jaja Lecoutre Polaris Geographic WT. I'm not sure who had that. And then on the bottom, there's my F.P. Journe Chronomet Souverain, and then another of a Omega Speedmaster that came in later. We had some, people were coming in, and we had our spouses, and I had no idea how small the venue was. We were all crowded around this little bar, little coffee bar. Okay, here's some more that came in. There's a F.P. Journe Octa Automatic Lune Havana, beautiful one. Again, I had my watch in there because we took them together. Then Richard's fabulous gold 1930 Fleurier. One of the things that I noticed about mine is in Arabic numbers, his is in Roman numerals, and I thought, well, maybe that is the difference. And then on the far right, I was wearing two watches that day. There's a better picture of Art's F.P. Journe, and then there's my H. Moser at C. Henry double hairspring. Anyway, so there were more watches there. Sterling had a watch he wanted to bring, and it wasn't back from the service yet. Exact same thing happened to me last year. I was all set to get my F.P. Journe Souverain. It was at service. It was a hurricane. It got held up a month, and so I had to wear another watch. But those kinds of things happen. That was the best part of, to me, the entire show. We were able to, a bunch of us got together. There must have been about, I don't know, it was hard to tell, maybe 10 or so, and there was people who brought their wives, and they seemed to enjoy it too. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that. Okay, so the next thing that we got here is I made a little video of just sort of to get a sense of the place. I stood in front of the Beauvais place and had a little talk. So that's what this next part is. Hi, I'm here at the WatchTime show in New York. This is in front of the Beauvais Pavilion. And there were a whole lot of people this morning, especially since the venue was pretty small at the Starbucks, ahead of time of that we met beforehand. Anyway, there's Beauvais, Eberhard, Chronos, Rutenmannen, Jacques K. Rose, Gabriel Forcé. There are Vacheron Constantin, one of my favorites, Lang, and Heim. There is, and there are, the whole place is really jammed. Today it's really surprising
very, really a good thing, because it's miserable weather. They're having a sort of a rainy nor'eastern, and yet we had a real good turnout at Starbucks, and there are just so many things going on here. Chronos was mentioned, Everhard, and there's another one, Breguet, they didn't bring their other one, Harry Winston, with them. But anyway, this has been a really good show and having a lot of fun, and I hope to have some pictures of some of the different things that we looked at.
Okay, now that you got a feel of it, the first thing that they had what they called the independent watchmaking stars. And there was Kerry Voutilanen, Roland Murphy, Fiona Krueger, Stephen Forsay, Rex Heppy, and off, you can't see his Romain Gautier. And he was off to that. We got there late. I was sitting near the back. It was dark, so the pictures I got wasn't so great. But it was a very interesting topic. They brought up a couple different ones, and it had to do with collaboration. The first one was what they thought about F.P. Journe deal with Chanel. And they all had comments on that. By and large, they were like, well, you have the sort of the pluses and minuses of it. And so that was interesting. And then they asked about certain kinds of collaborations that they had. For example, I think Kerry Voutilanen did some watches with MB&F, but it wasn't a Kerry Voutilanen, it was an MB&F, and he did it with some other people. They were talking about those kinds of things, and that was sort of interesting. And then they were all over the map on that one. Okay, next up, I started going to different places. Now, this is totally random, the places that I went to. This particular one, I saw this gorgeous enamel and gold Jacques Dreux. And so I went and started talking to the guy about it, and he was showing them to me. And then I was asking about the price. I forgot what it was, but it was a lot. And so I asked him what their entry level was, and he showed me this gorgeous one with a cream dial. This was their entry level. It was under 10,000, but I forgot exactly what it was. But it's a gorgeous watch, and this was the kind of thing. Somebody had asked me, "Do I have any wrist shots?" And the answer is no. I generally don't do that. I like, for two reasons. One, at Saturday, I had two watches on. I had the Art wanted to see my Henry double hairspring, so I had that one on. Then I had my F.P. Journe on. So I did, taking off your watch and putting on. So I don't do it too much. And plus the fact that I'm looking at the movement. I'm as interested in the movement as I am the front of the watch. In this case, so there are a couple dials that I admired. The 8 in there. By the way, too, one of the things about Jacques Dreux is that they got their original start in China, and there was 8 was a lucky number. So it was sort of a style that hang in there, and it's one I happen to like. Okay, some of the other ones now. This is Fiona Krueger's. I don't know too much about the movement. I don't think her stuff was known for that much, but rather the influences from different types of art and artists. These particular ones, she and my wife started talking about it, and this is the influences from Dia de Muertos and Frida Kahlo. So they got into a long conversation about that. And that was more of the artwork aspects of the watches, and she has some great looking watches. Here are a number of different companies that were there, and I didn't have a chance to go to all of them. I went to a lot of them. Some of them I had, and some were really crowded and you couldn't get near them, and other ones it was possible. So here's a MB&F Glashütte original. Debunte and Romain Gauthier. And then down below is Acariva and RGM. Both of those earlier, and I'll have this on Friday. I interviewed them about why did they use this lower frequency on their watches, whereas the typical ones were around 4 hertz. Theirs were 3 and 2.5 hertz, and what were the advantages of that? I got some really interesting answers, I think. Okay, some of the other ones are Zenith, Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc, I don't know if you can see it, but it's up in the upper right-hand corner, it says Minerva. And then in the right below Mont Blanc, it says 160 years of Minerva. And I talked to the guy, and he was part of one of the interviews I did, and asked him about the Minerva. Carl Bruchner, then there was Omega, and so they just were so many there that were interesting, and then people were coming and going all the time. This is on Saturday, and you heard on that the video, you could hear the noise behind. There's lots of people there. Okay, this one I went to Breguet. That one of the reps there looked pooped. They were just constantly people asking questions, and they were trying to explain to them. Down in the bottom left down there is this gorgeous watch that Breguet had. The people over at Jaja Lakuta, they were there. They were featuring their Polaris, and there are a lot of interesting kinds of things going on there. Vacheron Constantin. The day before, I had a wonderful talk with one of the reps there, and he was telling me a lot about their new 56. That was one line I think they were featuring more of to get more people interested into that, and that was they had a great big booth there. And it was sort of interesting because last year Vacheron Constantin wasn't there. Year before last they were, and they came back this year. So that was good to see. There's one of the brands that I like a lot, as you can see. Okay, Chronos. Now Chronos, I wish I had had a chance to talk to him. It was just coming and going. I go up there and a bunch of people would be there. I wanted to talk to him about their regulator. Okay, very interesting regulators that they have. Like I said, there were a lot of things I wanted to do. I didn't get a chance to because there was so much going on. The Monaco has some very, very interesting dials. And that was another thing I wanted to talk to him about. They were right next to Chopek. You can see the corner there. Actually, they weren't. Sorry. Baum and Mercier, they, excuse me, they had the Baumatic. And that was one of the important ones. I think that they compared the Baumatic by Val Fleurier with the movement in the base 56 that Vacheron Constantin had. But they had a great big thing there talking about their new movement. And the people there working were very nice, helped us a lot. Bremont and Bell and Ross. These are two that are airplane related, and of course this is something I've always been interested in. And both of these booths, a lot of people talking to them. Now Bremont has, I think, some of the best cases around, and they're still dependent on outside movements for their movements. In particular, ETA, I think possibly some from Solita too, which is those two are interwoven to some extent. The same is true with Bell and Ross. Bell and Ross has these wonderful watches based on aircraft instrument panels, and they're really neat looking watches. And again, but Bell and Ross is they still don't have their own movement. So Bremont and Bell and Ross are great for airplane aviation watches. But by the way, under Bremont it says uppers. That the S got left out. It should say supers anyway. And then finally, there's this is sort of the beginning and the ending of the very first place I wanted to see was Lang and Hein, and talk to Marco Hein, which I did, and we'll have that on Friday. But that's my Grail watch, and they had it there, and I think I talked about it on the last video, so I'm not going to do it more. But let me tell you, that WatchTime show was just fantastic, and in the spring they're going to have one out in L.A. So if you're from the West Coast or from out west, this would be a great time and to try to get ahead and meet before the show. And people that you've been chatting with online and talking about watches and so forth. It's really a lot of fun. The Friday night party is fantastic, and then the show itself is that you just have all of these wonderful companies and all of these wonderful watchmakers. And the program that they put on is really excellent. They had another part of the program that I missed. One, they had a whiskey tasting thing later on Saturday. I had to leave at around noon on Saturday because we had daughter's birthday thing that we were going to do for. And then there were some other things that I missed, but that happens. If they didn't miss it, I just added more of the show for the people who went. So great show. Next year, I hope that more people can meet up. I don't know, we're going to have to get something bigger than that little Starbucks. Do some research beforehand, at least for the New York show. And I hope that those of you out west, get together on the West Coast show too. A lot of fun. It was great. And boy, there's no questions about the getting at Lang and Hein. I really want to do that. Of course, I want to get a Jacques Dro and a few others too. I think Art bought a Chopek there, and a really gorgeous red one. This is another thing that you can do. Pick up a watch and at the show. Okay, well, now Friday they had the last piece of the show, and which to me was the most important, and this is the trying to figure out why is it that these top watchmakers have the lower frequency. And I interviewed Kerry Voutilanen, Marco Lang, and I don't know how many other people. But anyway, that'll be on Friday. Until then, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side. By the way, this is the invitation to subscribe if you'd like. And of course, as always, your comments are very important. Love to hear what you have to say about this. And if you were at the show and there was something I left out, let me know. I'll be glad to hear about it. Take care. Bill Sanders, Watch Art Side, Art and Science of Watch Collection.